being able to give a person the right to decide which direction that they want to go is so empowering.
So when you step into that scenario, what is a typical kind of path of the conversation?
Welcome to the Empowered Elder Podcast.
Usually, I like to just come in and just find out what's happening for the person. Like, how are they feeling? What's happened? Like, if I'm going into a rehab scenario, then we're just really diving into what brought you here. Like, how do we get to this point? And kind of what are you thinking next? Like, can you go home? But if we're going into a kind of a home setting, then really it's just a casual conversation like we're having right now, diving deep into, okay, so what communities are we looking at is just not the right approach. Finding out what the family dynamics are, where are their support systems? Are they reaching out to neighbors all the time for help? Are their neighbors happy with that? There's just so many different questions when you go into someone's home. What does the home look like? Like, is it a 3-story, 4-story home? Is it a rancher? Are they able to navigate their entire homes now? Or are they just segregated to like the living room and maybe a bedroom that comes off of that? So really just coming in and having that casual conversation around what their home life looks like. And then honestly, the conversation just kind of flows in a very natural way to what's working and what's not working. And if the things that are not working can easily be fixed by having someone come into the house or maybe making some modifications, then let's do that. But if it's more than that, then let's just start to have a conversation around what the next steps could potentially look like. And those are the times where I will maybe set up one tour, maybe two, just to show them that a senior community is not what we call a nursing home anymore. That generation, their thought process is like a senior living is, they don't even call it senior living. They call it, I'm going to a facility.
Well, and historically, to that point, that's really, skilled nursing was really the only option. Right. You lived in an apartment, truly on your own, or you went to skilled nursing. And it's so changed over the last 20, 30 years, right? Now there are more options. So that's what you're talking about, is really helping them understand what are the current options, because we all have the story that runs in our head about what we assume is the reality when it could be completely different.
Completely different. There are some very well equipped senior livings in this area that have like 5 restaurants, rooftop bars, saltwater pools. There are some swanky places to go to. Of course, there's also those senior livings where they provide like the highest level of acuity. And perhaps they don't have the swankiness as to what I was just talking about. But there's the plethora of options now, from the swankiest community to that provides the highest level of acuity, but is still not skilled nursing.
Right. I don't need necessarily assisted living. I want to go into independent living, not because I have to, because I want to. I don't want to do the things around the house. I don't want to have to worry about mowing the lawn. I want to be able to have community and have conversations and play mahjong when I want, or, cards or anything, have those activities. It's just a shift, right? Not looking at as independent living as a bad thing. It's just a different, we progress in life, right? And our lives change, and we have different needs and spend our time doing different things. So I think you're right. It is that thought of, is it a nursing home, or, I don't need help. I can stay in this house. But there might be some that want to experience those things that they might not be able to if they were in their own home and having to care for things in the house.
Well, and before we toured some options, right, just in what we're doing, I didn't know that pets were allowed, right? Like
so many people don't
that
know
was,
that.
right. And I was like, that is the coolest. That is the coolest thing, because that's a lot of the times that's your companion.
Right.
Yes.
And so the idea of having to leave your companion has always been no, of course I'm not going to leave my dog, my cat, whatever.
Yes.
And so even just knowing that small piece is that sense of home that you can bring with you.
Absolutely. That is actually the number one kind of most surprised moment is, they can bring their dog.
Right.
Well, that changes everything.
Right. We toured one and they had a little like stuffed animal down in the corner. I'm like, oh, that's your little indication that you allow pets. That's cute.
Yes. I
Very
love that.
cute.
And I love the fact that you guys have gone out there and done your research and looked at different communities, because then you know what you're talking about, right? As opposed to the guessing.
Oh, we already said that we want to move in.
Yeah, no, it was quite, the views were amazing. It was fantastic.
There's this one in Lone Tree that is just so gorgeous. That's where I'm going. Yes. I need to marry rich for that. Though, so
this one was in Castle Rock. It's brand new, beautiful
I know
mountain,
exactly what you're talking
mountain views, like
yes, gorgeous.
And just the thought process that is now put into the pre-planning of the community, the resources and the staffing and the views and the food.
The chef, they're bringing in these chefs and they speak very highly. Like this chef, had cooked here and like,
it's
like, okay.
Just blown,
it's not just
blown
some
away.
random that works at Waffle House and it's like coming over.
Like it's just totally blown away with, because, unfortunately we also had our own ideas in our head about what the experience could or would look like, right? Until we went and looked.
Yes.
And, as we said, hopefully I am years away from that.
Years.
But now it's like, oh, that's an option?
It's not so awful.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
I had this sweet woman that I just recently moved into a community well below her budget, like $2,000 below what she wanted to spend. Which was such a win for me. Like I love being able to save people money and then get them what they want. It's such a joy. But she was in her apartment by herself for like the last 30 years. She had her neighbor, but her neighbor's also like 25, 30 years younger than her. And she was working. And this sweet woman was not working anymore. She was so lonely. And that was her number one reason for wanting to move. Number two was location. She needed to be closer to her niece. Her niece was in Denver. She was in Lakewood. So, not that far away, but far away enough. And I went and visited with her the other day and we had lunch together. And this woman knew everybody there. Like,
that's awesome.
Hey, such and such. Oh, hey. And they all came up to the table. I mean, you couldn't have wiped the smile off of her face.
Right.
Win. That is such a win for me. Like, what a joy to be able to get that person to their next stage in life.
You helped that person find their voice.
Yes.
Right? Because it's really hard when you're in a room of one to have a voice.
You just don't.
That's cool.
And they didn't know where to start. They just didn't. And I had helped another family friend to kind of find the right community. And so they referred me. I mean, what a better compliment than that?
Absolutely. And like you had mentioned, you're not looking at just the appearance of the community. You're looking at the whole package, and having a trusted advisor that knows the ins and outs of a community or multiple communities that can make that fit and that connection for your client is great. It's perfect.
We actually only looked at one. The first one that we went to, she was like, this is it. I don't need to see any other ones.
Nice.
Yes.
Those are lovely.
Perfect.
And that it continues to work out.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because sometimes the story is different than the deliverable.
For sure.
You have to be careful with that too.
Well, it's just like the communities that I worked at. So before becoming an advisor, I worked at 2 different communities. And as I said to you, I would fill up these buildings, but then our service delivery would go down. And it really had to do with who was in management at the time. So things can obviously change for sure. But I think now I have more of an insider view, and I know the questions to kind of ask the communities. What's the longevity of your executive director? How long has your chef been here? What's your response time to call pendants? I mean, just all those questions that people, when they're in an emotive state, don't even think to to ask.
Well, they won't know to ask it either because they've never been in the situation to even ask the question.
Correct.
Right? I'm not asking that when I go to a restaurant for dinner. How has your chef been here? What about your regional manager?
What's the tenure of your staff?
No. It's like, is the food good? Am I coming back? Right?
Yes.
You kind of have to go beyond that when you're looking at this long-term solution.
You do.
And so, the looking past the smokes and mirrors of the story is more important, in my opinion, than just the song and dance at the beginning.
Absolutely. And, sometimes, and I hate to say this, but sometimes sales directors would be like, oh, look over here. I'm looking over here. Because you're trying to show me what you want me to see, but I want to take a sneak peek as to what's happening over here.
Yeah, we say quite frequently that knowing who not to work with is even more important than who we have on our list.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Right?
Yep.
Because it really is looking under the covers.
It really is. And I won't say there's a lot of communities that I won't work with. That is not accurate. But there are a few who, in their current state, because communities can change, you have to offer that opportunity for change to occur. That can absolutely happen. But there are a few communities right now that I will absolutely not refer to. They're not in a position to be offering the quality care and service that I'm looking for.
Fair. Totally fair.
Makes me think of a question as far as, because you are not performing an assessment on an individual before they're going into, like, you're asking the questions, you're finding out their needs and seeing what would be the best community. But when does the conversation of an assessment come up? Like when they're meeting with the communities and they say, we'd like to have you, but it all depends on the needs of the clientele, right? So when does that conversation take place in relation to an assessment, and how does that kind of get brought up? Because they could fall in love with the place and then
they don't get accepted.
Yeah, it's kind of like college, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I love it, but my test scores aren't. Yeah, right. I couldn't get into Harvard.
Campus and go, what are you doing here? Just sign up for.
What a thoughtful question. How did you even know to ask that? How did you know about the assessment process?
I have a family friend that's going through that process. And so in meeting, I've been going on interviews and meeting with the communities, and just like it's nice that we're at the table and we're having the conversation, but then they're like, we just need to do an assessment. So then you have to back it up. So when is the appropriate time to bring that conversation up and weave that into the situation?
Right. So for me, there are definitely some kind of criteria that I know, okay, that community absolutely will not accept this. Like this family that I'm working with, I've asked the questions. I know that they're a 2-person transfer. This community will absolutely not accept a 2-person transfer. So working with someone like me that maybe has that knowledge will help decrease the disappointment with going to a community that will absolutely not accept you. So that's kind of the starting point with working with an advisor, is ideally they would know, okay, that community doesn't do this, and this, and maybe not refer you to them in the first instance. So I'm kind of doing my research at the front end. But I always let them know before we go and tour, kind of set the tone and let them know that there is going to be an assessment and this is what needs to occur before you're accepted into a community. So again, I will set that tone from the very beginning and not take them to places where I know that they can't, like if they need a Hoyer lift, or if a person has got some behavioral issues that I know that perhaps that memory care cannot deal with that or navigate that, then of course I'm not going to set them up for failure. But I have those conversations before we even get to the tour. That way then, very, very unlikely that with an assessment that they're not going to get accepted. And let's just be completely frank. These communities are a business after all.
Sure.
They're in the business of saying yes until they have to get to a no. I worked with this woman that has got like stage 3 wounds, and generally assisted livings cannot take stage 3 wounds. But the family really didn't want to put her in a cold, skilled nursing environment, given that she's 98. They wanted something warmer for her.
Homey.
Yeah. So I was able to find an assisted living, only one, and gave them all of her clinical notes before we even did a tour. Take this to your nurse, have her review it, and let me know if there's any red flags for you. So they did that first, and they said, this is looking fine as long as she comes in with hospice. We need her to come in with hospice, have some extra services around her, and then we will be able to accept. And upon hearing that, then we made a tour time.
Sure.
So that's kind of how we mitigate things so that people are not facing disappointment after disappointment, assessment after assessment. And
so that just increased my respect for you.
Oh, thank you.
Because we have a lot of contacts in the space, right?
Of course.
And this is the first time that I've heard of someone doing that ahead of the look at all the pretty lights and the this and the that, the movie theater and the pool and, look, here's parking. And, you took it to an enhanced level to truly serve the consumer. And so that's an unusual thing for me to hear in the space.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, I think having been a social worker and, in Australia, I primarily worked with families that were in crisis mode. So I worked with youth, surprisingly enough. I'm two ends of the spectrum now. But I worked with families who had children with disabilities that were almost at the point of relinquishing them. Like things got so difficult in the house. Could you imagine? Like just relinquishing your child. And at that point is when we would intervene and kind of put systems into place to keep their child in their home. So I feel like that experience has pushed me towards really dissecting what's happening for the person first and then working on the plan after. So I very much appreciate that. It's the biggest compliment someone could give me.
I don't say things I don't mean. Just ask her.
It's true.
Likewise.
Very direct, very painfully direct. What are some myths about placement services, senior advisors, solutions that you would really like to counter that you come across?
There's not many, but the number one thing is who wears the cost of your referral fee? Obviously, I have a mortgage, I have bills to pay, I need to be paid in some respect. And it's the communities that pay us a referral fee for bringing families to them or offering them as a solution. And the number one thing I think people think is that they somehow wear the cost of that referral fee in their monthly charges, or something has been upped on their end in order for the communities to pay us a referral fee. And that is absolutely not the case. In fact, I can often get a better rate because they do enjoy our referrals and want us to continue referring. So sometimes they'll give us a better monthly rate than what's even advertised. Sometimes they'll waive community fees. They'll do whatever they can it's a competitive market to bring families in. And I'm Iranian, so haggling's in my blood. Let me see what deal I can get. So, I'm not afraid to ask those questions. Sometimes families feel embarrassed to say, okay, well, this is our budget, or this community is offering this price, but we really like yours. Is there any way that you can kind of match that price? Or I'm happy to do that for you. So that's the myth that I would love to see busted and completely gone, is that somehow the families wear our cost in the back end, and that is just not true. I had this one family, they're Middle Eastern like me, so I really understood him. And he really didn't want to see me get a referral fee at all. And no matter what community we went to, he would say, give me half of her commission. And most people would probably find that like a little bit like kind of off-putting, but I really just like truly could relate to him on a very Middle Eastern level. But what the family did was they actually, I toured them like 3 different places. And they went off and toured like 2 or 3 on their own as well. Well, the 2 or 3 that they toured, the son came back to me and he was like, "Honey, you were worth your weight in gold." He said the communities that we toured were all not what they wanted at all, didn't fit their budget, weren't clean. I mean, I didn't refer you to them
right,
because
for a reason.
I knew that, but they had to go and kind of do their research a little bit on their own, and then could see the value in what we do. So I think if that, it's like a little myth as well, is that, oh, well, I can go out there and kind of do it on my own, and you can.
I was going to say, do you see that often where they're like, okay, thank you for showing me these. I'm going to go look at these. Or even before they get to meet with you, they've already looked at a handful and they're like, they don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what they're looking for. So having that true professional by their side, they realize, oh, this is a little bit more daunting than I thought it was going to be, right?
That happens regularly. Or people go into analysis paralysis. Am I making the right decision for my loved one? Have I looked at all the options that are out there? Well, yes, I've viewed 2 or 3 communities, but is this it? Like, what if there's other? What if there's other communities that I've missed?
What if I make the wrong decision?
Right. Yes. What if I make the wrong?
It's not buying a car you can't just return, or sell it later.
You can always move communities, but is it ideal?
Right.
Absolutely not, especially in memory care. I try to have people be very thorough when it comes to memory care, because moving a loved one from one memory care to another, you can do it. It's not ideal. And if I was a shady character, and this is kind of, I think sometimes what happens in our industry, or people kind of, have some false sense of like, well, they're just going to stick me wherever, because if I'm not happy, then they're going to move me again. And I try not to do that. The worst thing for me would be to place someone in a community and then have them not be happy a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later. If we're going to move into a community, I want it to be a permanent solution. I did have a scenario where I moved someone into a memory care, and we didn't know this about the mom, but she ended up with severe behavioral issues from the day that she arrived there. Swearing, kicking, cursing, biting, things that had never, ever happened before that.
Interesting.
There was just a shift. Something had happened with her. She had had a UTI before that, but she had been treated for it. Something just wasn't going right for her anymore. And 5 days after I moved her in, we had to move her out. That, to me, does not feel good at all. We did it, and we moved her into more of a behavioral memory care that could manage that. So she's in the right place for her now. But that is never my ideal scenario. That is kind of the worst case scenario that could occur. But we managed it.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You're creative.
If a family is listening right now and feels truly just overwhelmed, what's the first step they can take?
A deep breath.
Fair. Totally fair.
And I always say to families, small bites of the elephant. Okay? So, number one, making sure that all the documents that they need are in place. That would be the number one thing that I would say to families, is like, who's who in the zoo and who's going to be managing what, so that not one person is wearing everything on their shoulders. It's kind of having that group discussion, if that's feasible, around kind of what that looks like. And then giving me a call.
Good answer.
You know, give me a call just so we can have a conversation. I think people think that if they make the call to a senior advisor, that they're actually taking the next steps. And that's not what that is at all. It is purely a conversation around, okay, do you have this in place? Do you have this in place? Have you thought about this? And kind of having that conversation around what the next steps could potentially look like,
right,
and what preparation is needed before you even get to that point. I know that probably sounds like a conceited answer, but
no, it's fair. It's totally fair.
We do a lightning round. So not to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So just think of the first word or sentence that comes to mind when we ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I will do it. I'm not good on my feet like that, but I'll do my best.
You've been doing fantastic. Don't count yourself short.
The first one is one senior care conversation families should not postpone.
Power of attorney.
We talked about the myths of senior advisors. What is the biggest myth about the community?
That it's a nursing home.
One sign it may be time to ask for outside guidance.
Hospitalization, confusion, and inability to work out next steps.
One word you hope families feel after working with an advocate.
Calmness, sense of security, and peace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
My pleasure. No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
What I'm taking away from this conversation is that planning ahead is not about taking away someone's independence. It's about protecting it. It's about creating choices before life narrows those choices for us.
Hani helped us understand that advocacy matters because families often do not know what options exist, what questions to ask, or what signs they should be watching for.
And sometimes the most empowering thing a family can do is pause, ask for help, and gather information before making a decision they may have to live with for a long time. And remember, empowerment does not always begin with having all the answers. Sometimes it begins with asking the right question and allowing someone to walk beside you through the next step.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered Elder podcast.
Till next time, keep choosing clarity, keep choosing compassion, and keep choosing to age with dignity, confidence, and peace.